it's been several days, and I finally heard back from my friends in the US, and I'm amazed at what they found. So I'm here at Simon's, and I've decided I'm gonna talk to him about it before I decide in all detail of what I'm gonna be doing. So just trying to make sure Mishka's not still wandering around here. I've certainly been here a few times and not had any issues, so I don't know where he keeps her normally, but I think I'm okay. I also figured if I came during the day, it would be easier to see further. Alright, there's his house. Just don't know how he lives there without a roof, but maybe he's just enjoys that, or doesn't have the money to handle it, I'm sure. Simon? Are you around?
I hope you've come to let me know you've thought about my suggestion to leave town and decided it made sense.
Actually, I've stopped by to let you know that your little stunt drove me to try to understand what you kept rambling on about. The funny thing is, I was perfectly fine just becoming a proud member of Hebdow and running my farm, but you just would not let me do that without harassing me endlessly. I did understand with your bear that you were more serious than I had hoped you were about your needless worries. I had told you every time I was not looking into your background, but you ended up pushing me to try to find out what the big deal was, in the hopes of perhaps reasoning with you. What I found was not at all what I expected, Simon, or should I say Dragomir Nika, former guard at Plasov concentration camp near here.
Oh God, all is lost. I knew you'd be trouble. If I had had a quarter of the ruthlessness of Aemon Goth, I might have been sure the secret was kept, but it seems that is not to be. I assume you will share this with all the town, and instead of spending my last years in peace, who knows what will happen to me.
I'm certainly not going to join you in hiding your secret, but I've come to see you first, before sharing what I know with anyone else, to hear what you have to say for yourself. You mentioned Goth, the notorious commandant of the camp. As a student of history, I'm well aware of the ruthlessness of which you speak, though I think it is more properly termed sadism.
Given that Polish nor English are my primary language, perhaps I did use the wrong word. Goth was an animal, is all I know, and us guards were just as afraid of him as the prisoners were. Did you know he once had a guard executed, because he thought Ralph and Rolf, his dogs, preferred the handler to himself? No one ever knew what any moment would bring with Goth. I detested my time there, and I was so happy to be free of the horrors of that place. But it seems you are now going to haunt me with them.
So you were not a willing participant in your duties?
Of course not. I certainly understand more now, but when Antonescu allied Romania with the Nazis, I was but a boy. Even in 1943, when I was conscripted in the army, I was only 16. Thankfully, I was not sent to the front against the Russians, but was instead sent to serve as a guard in the newly built Plasov camp in the spring of 1943, right after its construction. I detested every minute of my time there, but doing anything other than following orders would have resulted in my immediate execution at Goth's hand. He was a monster.
Indeed he was. Thank God for Oskar Schindler and his conversion to try to save some of the prisoners. Your reaction was not what I had expected, but was perhaps what I had hoped. I'm not looking to resurrect old demons, but I'm sure you understand that it is not fair to hide the secret from those you live among. Are you willing to tell your own story to the town?
No, I could not find the strength. They will be so angry and likely want me to leave, and I do not think I could face their reaction and respond.
Very well. I have to think on this a bit. You're an old man, Dragomir, and I am not looking to cause you any harm. I just needed to stop your harassment, as the authorities in town would not intervene when you began.
I understand. I have always been so scared any time anyone new came to town, but you, being an American, just put my fear into a higher level. I no longer have a reason to try to chase you away, as you have now uncovered what I hope to remain hidden forever. Is that not enough? Is that not what you wanted?
I'm sorry, it is not. I could never feel truly a part of this community by joining in your deception. I will be sharing your true identity with Mayor Zabala. He can decide what to do next.
Very well. I really loved this place. It was so nice to finally find a home after moving from place to place.
You've turned out to be much different than I had expected. I will do what I can. Well, I've thought about what Simon told me for a little bit, and I think it's time to go let Mayor Zabala know what I found out. I have a pretty good idea what I'm going to tell him, based on what I think his reaction is going to be. But we'll see how it goes. Good day, Mayor Zabala. Do you have news from your friends on the research? Do we need to go talk with Simon to talk some sense into him? I've actually just come from there. What my friends discovered was incredible, and I wanted to talk to him myself first. Mayor Zabala, Simon Budziak is actually a Romanian named Dragomir Nica, who used to be a guard at the Plasov concentration camp here during the war.
What? Are you certain? I had ancestors who died in that camp. Of all the things you might have found that Simon or Dragomir it did not want you to discover, I would have never imagined this. We must arrest him and I'm not sure what.
Mayor Zabala, if I may, I can't even begin to imagine what you are feeling, knowing that someone who had some part in the horrors that your family experienced has been living among you. But I encourage you to speak to him yourself, and perhaps understand the situation before passing judgment. After all, at this point, by my calculations, Dragomir is at least 94. From what I heard from him, this was not something he participated in willingly, and I tend to believe him, seeing the anguish on his face as we spoke. Nothing we do today can do anything to erase or change what happened there over 75 years ago, but it can determine how this community feels about itself going forward. I urge you to at least speak to him before rushing to any hasty decision.
What you say makes sense, but how can we not hold him accountable? How could we go on having a monster among us?
Did you think of him as a monster before what I shared with you? I think not, given how you defended him when I first came to you about his actions at my home with the tires. He has been a member of this town for decades at this point, and while this is certainly shocking information, and would have been much better coming from him and earlier, we cannot change that it had not. I gave Dragomir the choice to tell you himself, but he could not muster up the courage to do so. He is expecting the worst. You are the leader of this town, so it is up to you how this news is handled. It seems you can go down a path of punishment for things which cannot be undone, and for which I certainly do not have any evidence of exactly what his part in it was. Or you can go down a more radical path of forgiveness and healing, and help lead a discussion in the community to help heal any remaining scars this may open up. None of us is without sin. Certainly you can decide his sin is far worse than many, but to what end at this point? I want to make a home here in this community, so I certainly will be affected by whatever you decide. Good luck, Mayor Zabala. You certainly are more than you seemed when you showed up in town a foreigner on a lark to run his dead aunt's farm, Mr. Kowadziejczyk. You have certainly surprised me today with more than the news about Dragomir. You may yet become a welcome addition to our community. You certainly seem to be making great impressions with many around town, and you've certainly changed my viewpoint about you today. Perhaps I should go to talk with him, and perhaps be surprised again. Whatever I do, I will then speak to the town council to decide what happens next. Since you brought this to my attention, I will keep you informed of what we decide. Thank you. All right. Well, at this point, I've done everything I can, and I just need to wait for Mayor Zabala and the town council to decide whatever they're going to do. I do have some work from Edita that she wants me to get done over on Field 5 near the store. She's left some equipment there so that I can get that work done. So I'm going to go ahead and head over there and get that done. Alright, so I'm here on Field 5. I'll go ahead and get this work done. It's again a fertilizing job. The good news is the last 2 times I've had these wide spreaders, or sprayers, I think they're called. So that should help certainly move things along. This one's definitely bigger than the field I did for Janusz. Alright, I think I'm all set. Let me turn it on. Alright, so yeah, I'm not feeling great about the whole situation with Dragomir. It's still strange to call him that, because I've just known him as Szymon the whole time I've been in town, and he's been bothering me. I don't know that if I was in Mayor Zabala's shoes that I would really know what the best thing to do is either. You know, on the one hand, as I mentioned, I kind of feel he's so close to the end of his life at this point, being probably 94 or 95 years old. It certainly doesn't seem that he was hiding from it because he agreed with what he was doing. That doesn't mean it was right, what he did, but I don't know what I would have done in his situation, being a 16-year-old boy in that position, having to deal with someone like Goth. You know, I'm not sure how much people know about the situation, but you know, Goth was one of those guys, even as the Nazi regime goes, that kind of rose above and beyond the evil that they in general portrayed. He was tasked with putting the camp here together, and he just enjoyed random acts of violence, or he would shoot prisoners without provocation or pretend to create some provocation. You know, he had been known to shoot prisoners because his soup was the wrong temperature, or because he felt they were looking at him funny. So just really ridiculous things. And you know, he'd be out on his balcony, and you know, the longtime prisoners would know to hide as much as they could in the camp anytime Goth was out and about or pacing around at his home. But, you know, the new folks did not, and so forth, and it was just a miserable existence. And I had heard stories about, what Dragomir mentioned about even the guards were not exempt, and it just had to be a terrible, terrible time. So, well, there's nothing I can really do about it other than just do my part to maybe encourage a kinder path. I really don't think Dragomir is looking to cause any trouble. I think he's genuinely remorseful and upset for what he took part in, and as much as some might feel otherwise, I'm just not sure that punishing a 90-year-old man is the best thing to do. It just seems like, as a community, we could do much better. He's been someone that I think everyone at least thought was okay. I mean, certainly the conversations I've had with Piotr and Janusz, while they thought maybe he was a little strange and eccentric, nobody had any complaints with him until me with what he was doing with me, and I somewhat understand his panic when I came into town and thinking that his peace would be shattered with my arrival. Unfortunately, he kind of pushed things to that point, but I certainly don't feel good about uncovering what I uncovered. I certainly hoped it was something simpler, that maybe would have just been a simple misunderstanding and wouldn't have required the mayor and the town council to get involved and decide whether they want to do anything with this individual here. So, but yeah, Mayor Zabala's house is actually right there. I didn't know this last time I worked on the field. I see him pacing around on the balcony. He's clearly thinking about what he's going to do. So, again, I don't envy his position, because I don't know everything that goes along with it. Obviously he had family that were directly affected. I'm sure there's other people in town that have similar things, and so he's not only dealing with his emotions and his feelings and trying to determine how to do this, but he's got to think about what the reaction of everyone else will be if he chooses to go down the path I was suggesting of leniency, rather than the simpler path of punishment. And honestly, at this point, I don't even know what a little town like Hebdow would honestly be able to do. I mean, they certainly, I assume, can't do things like the war crimes trials were doing at the end of the war that had significantly more, authority behind them, with the nations that were running those and so forth. This is just a town within Poland that now has found out they happen to have someone among them who was part of that and didn't get swept up in Nuremberg and handled at that point. But I'm sure there's many, many guards that and soldiers and so forth that were not looked at that level. So I'm not even sure what would constitute being tried for those type of crimes and so forth. And once again, as I said, all I know is he was there. That's all my friends could find out. There really wasn't any more records and any more depth of specifically even what his role was and so forth. So it's not as if there's hard evidence that he was behaving brutally or anything that could be proven anyway. So alright, well, I'm going to try to think about other things for the rest of the day. I'm certainly just about, I think, done here. And I'll see if there's anything else that has come up. If anybody left a message on my machine at home. Yes, I've still got an answering machine at the house. My aunt had it from when she was here. It was still there. So I do have that hooked up, and so if anyone calls the home number instead of my cell phone number, sometimes I get messages there. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, this field was actually done pretty quickly, given its size, but these sprayers are pretty nice, so if I end up having a field this size at some point, it's certainly something I'd like to look into, but I'm sure these implements are not inexpensive, so well, I'm doing okay at building up some funds. I think I'm a long way from being able to afford the kind of equipment that a lot of these farmers who have been here for a long time have. And I think I'm going to have to come back one more time. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have a couple little pieces left, but again, in the grand scheme of things, this really wasn't that bad. It is a beautiful day, so I do enjoy that. I've had a lot of nice weather lately as I've been working, which has been great compared to a lot of the rain I had in the beginning, but spring and such usually tend to be a little more rainy, and of course as a farmer we need that rain to make the crops grow better and so forth, so certainly be happy about that. So yeah, at this point I've got over 50,000 euros. This is probably going to get me over 60,000. Just really trying to figure out if I want to continue to save my euros or if I want to do something with them. But anyway, let me let editor know I'm done, get my payment, and see if there's anything else to be done today. I got home and yeah, there weren't any messages, nobody had called. So I've kind of had a calm evening, ate my dinner, just kind of hung out. I've been walking around outside in my yard here, just thinking about the craziness of what I was a part of here today. So I'm gonna go about what I've been doing, which is just trying to make my way here, and I guess I'll wait and see what Mayor Zabala has to say. So I'll see you next time.